I owe no clarity to those who thrive in shadows. My light isn't meant to justify itself to the blind. There comes a time when you realize not everyone wants to understand you. Some challenge you. Others control you. And many aim to dim your confidence until you question your own truth. I've been taught to communicate better, to explain myself clearly, to be transparent, as if openness guarantees understanding. But let me tell you, some people aren't confused at all. They see exactly who you are. And that's their issue. They don't misunderstand you by accident. They don't misjudge you by chance, they do it deliberately. Your clarity threatens the illusions they cling to. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your calm amplifies their chaos. They're not ignorant. They lack the courage to face your truth. Here's the trap you keep explaining, defending, justifying your choices, values, and boundaries, as if your self-worth is on trial. You hope they'll finally say, "I get it now." But they won't. Their goal isn't understanding. It's control. Your willingness to explain becomes their weapon to twist your truth against you. Stop now, not out of bitterness, but wisdom. You don't need to defend yourself to those who choose to misinterpret you. Their refusal to see you clearly is their burden, not yours. You don't owe your light to those addicted to darkness. Your silence unsettles them more than your words ever could. Silence holds power, sets boundaries, and becomes the unyielding foundation of your dignity. This isn't anger. It's a call to reclaim your energy from chaos. This is a message of emotional strength, of psychological boundaries, of quiet self-respect. In a noisy world of overreactions, if you're exhausted from explaining yourself to those who don't deserve it, join me in this video to uncover why some demand too much, why silence is your greatest shield, and how to restore your inner peace, your self-worth, and the courage to walk away without apology. Begin with this firm choice. Stop explaining to those who exploit your clarity. Not every attack is personal. Some target you because you reflect what they refuse to face. Let this sink in. You're not the enemy, you're a mirror. When someone carries unresolved pain, insecurity, or emotional chaos, your peace becomes their irritation. Your boundaries feel like defiance. Your maturity threatens them because it forces them to confront their own shadows. They don't hate your success, they resent what it reminds them they haven't achieved. They don't despise your confidence, they fear how it exposes their doubts. They don't attack your voice because it's wrong, but because it's clear. And clarity terrifies the emotionally fragile. This is what psychology calls projection. When someone can't face their own truth, they push it onto you. They call you arrogant for being confident, selfish for setting boundaries, or difficult for refusing to please them endlessly. If you're not vigilant, without emotional intelligence, you'll start believing their lies. You'll mistake their projection for reality. You'll doubt yourself, shrink, and question your instincts not because you're wrong, but because their unhealed wounds cast shadows on you. Evil doesn't always appear as a monster. It shows up as subtle manipulators in daily life. They smile while quietly undermining your confidence, feign care while competing, and offer advice laced with their own limits. Not your potential. It could be a parent, sibling, partner, friend, or boss. It's easy to spot a stranger's malice, but far harder to accept that those you love may be draining your spirit. If you're serious about self-worth and protecting your mental space, you must face this truth head on. Not everyone in your life has the emotional capacity to support your growth. Some who claim to care don't truly want you to thrive. They prefer the old, malleable version of you, easily controlled, guilt-tripped, and compliant. When you evolve, they're triggered. They say, "You've changed," that you think you're better. But that's the point, isn't it? You've grown. You're not meant to stay the same. Growth is the goal, and their envy or stagnation can't handle your transformation. When their tactics fail, they play the victim. This isn't love, it's emotional warfare. The only way to win is to refuse to play. Explaining boundaries to those who benefit from your lack of them is a losing game. You're reasoning with manipulators. You're trying to reason with people who live in delusion. You offer vulnerability to those who see compassion as leverage. No matter how carefully you explain, they won't hear you. They filter everything through their own pain. They'll twist your truth into a weapon against you. That's why you must stop explaining, not from arrogance, but from wisdom. You're not here to fix what they refuse to face. You're not here to carry their demons. You're here to walk in your truth quietly, steadily, unashamed. If your truth unsettles them, let it. Their discomfort isn't your burden, it's the mirror they must face. Those with kind hearts and gentle souls often fall into the subtle tragedy of believing that enough explanation will lead to understanding, but they don't realize that explaining to someone with a fixed bias isn't clarity, it's self-erasure. It starts quietly. You share your truth. They distort it. You set boundaries. They call you selfish. You step away from toxicity, and you're the villain in their story. You replay conversations in your mind, wondering how you could have said it differently. You soften your truth to make it palatable, hoping they'll finally see your heart. But they won't. And worse, it's never enough, no matter how much you explain or try to clarify. Every time you try to convince them, a piece of you breaks. You start to wonder, am I too harsh? Overreacting? Should I let it go? Is it my fault? This isn't just exhaustion, it's spiritual erosion. The slow loss of self-worth from seeking validation from those who can't give it. This happens when you forget that your truth doesn't need permission to exist. If you're not careful, you'll spend years trapped in this cycle, explaining your kindness to the cruel, justifying your boundaries to the demanding, and defending your peace to those who thrive on chaos. No matter how eloquently you explain, it won't reach them. Why? They don't listen to understand, they listen to rebut. They wait for any crack in your confidence, any waver in your voice, to attack, manipulate, and make you doubt your own reality. You owe no explanation of your peace to those who revel in conflict. Let this be your new boundary. This doesn't mean becoming cold or closed off. It means being selective with your energy. Emotional intelligence means recognizing that not every why deserves an answer. Not everyone who demands your heart deserves to hear your reasons. Not every challenge to your choices comes from love or respect. Some act out of envy, control, or their own projections. Explaining too much only fuels their illusion of entitlement to your clarity. You have the right to say, "I won't explain myself to those who weaponize my words." This isn't defensiveness, it's psychological self-defense. Silence rooted in dignity, not ego, is the mark of profound maturity. It declares, I know who I am. I know why I made my choices. And I no longer seek understanding from those who profit from misunderstanding me. This quiet power separates the reactive from the wise. The moment you stop explaining, justifying, or defending to those who disrespect your truth. You reclaim your time, your clarity, and your power. It's a power that doesn't shout or beg. It walks with calm purpose and unshakable peace. Why do you keep explaining to those who've shown they don't care to understand? Why pour your energy into those who take without giving back? It's not weakness. It's a conditioned belief that being misunderstood is your fault to fix. You've tied your worth to being liked, mistaking acceptance for safety. When someone questions your choices, beliefs, or identity, you panic and explain, diving into chaos to find peace in their approval. But that's a losing game. You won't find peace by negotiating with turmoil. Peace comes when you shield your energy from it. Emotional intelligence becomes non-negotiable here. Without it, you'll burn out trying to be understood by those who are emotionally drained. They don't understand you and aren't trying to. They provoke, prod, twist, and bait, because the moment you explain, they've won, not because your reasoning fails, but because your attention is the currency they crave. Your attention is your power. Whoever controls your emotional focus controls your inner state. When they provoke you to explain or defend, they're stealing your energy. You've left your solid ground to play on their chaotic turf. That exchange is always a loss. Some people thrive on your discomfort, feel powerful when you scramble to justify, and validated when you lower your standards to fit their chaos. They gain when you explain your soul to soothe their ego. That's not connection, it's control. The more you feed it, the more you lose yourself. There's a hidden payoff in over-explaining. It feels productive, like you're gaining control. But it's an illusion of progress. You think better words will make them understand, but they won't. They're not curious. They're ego-driven. Each time you explain or justify, you fuel their game, draining your spirit in the process. This is where your self-worth must rise. Not everyone deserves your truth. Not everyone has a right to your inner reasoning. Not everyone is worthy of standing in your clarity. You have the right to protect your space. You can say, "This conversation doesn't serve my peace." That's not rudeness. It's setting a psychological boundary. It's the hallmark of a high-performance mindset. Because the most powerful people don't explain themselves to everyone. They act quietly and conserve their energy. They know to walk away rather than argue with those who thrive on misunderstanding. It's time you follow their lead. You've spent too long watering dead plants. Stop explaining to souls who aren't ready. Stop placing your peace in the hands of those who never meant to protect it. From now on, let this be your mantra. I owe no one an explanation for the choices I make for my peace. When you feel the urge to explain, defend, or justify, take a deep breath. Remember, you weren't born to perform for those who secretly want you to fail. Your peace is yours to guard, not theirs to demand. You crave acknowledgement, someone to say, "I see you. You're right." That hunger for validation is human, but it's also the most dangerous trap you can fall into. Seeking it hands your peace to others. We were taught that being understood equals safety. If people agree with our thoughts, choices, or dreams, we're secure. But the truth is, most only accept you when you make them comfortable, and comfort rarely comes from truth. It comes from conformity, compliance, fitting their mold. When you break that mold, grow, or surpass their limits, you're no longer controllable. You're a threat not because they're confused, but because you no longer seek their approval. Yet you keep trying, hoping this time they'll get it. But if they truly valued you, they'd ask deeper questions. They'd respect your heart instead of weaponizing your vulnerabilities. You've mistaken their validation for love. That's the illusion you must shatter. You can outgrow those who don't walk with you by choosing peace over performance. They'll call you selfish or distant, but choosing peace doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear that you don't need external validation to know your worth. Clear that you're not here to be manipulated by those who feed on your insecurity. This is your turning point. Stop explaining to those who judge and live your truth. True emotional intelligence is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Your energy is for preserving, not persuading. Silence isn't weakness. It's a sacred power that refuses to fuel their drama. When you don't respond to those expecting a reaction, you signal you're no longer controlled. Silence starves their game, denies their drama, and leaves them alone with themselves, something they can't bear. Don't mistake silence for passivity. Sometimes, the strongest move is to walk away quietly. No long explanations, no dramatic exits, just a firm decision. I don't need to be understood by those who choose not to see me. Your life isn't a courtroom. Your choices aren't on trial. Your truth doesn't need a defense attorney. You don't need validation to breathe, applause to heal, or permission to be free. You need courage to stop explaining. Let me share a story. A brilliant, resilient woman, full of light. Wasn't perfect, but sincere. She loved deeply, listened carefully, gave more than she received. Her flaw: she wanted to be understood by those who never intended to try. His words were charming, his presence magnetic, but behind the mask, he didn't love her as a person. He loved how she made him feel. She thought explaining would bridge the gap, so she shared her past, her wounds, her values. She explained why she needed solitude, why boundaries mattered, why chaos triggered her anxiety. He nodded, but each time, he twisted her words. You're too sensitive. You overthink. You're not fun anymore. You used to be easier. So she tried harder, softened her tone, excused his behavior, told herself he meant well. But one day, she faced a harsh truth. She wasn't communicating, she was begging. The more she explained, the more she lost herself. That's how emotional theft happens, not with fists, but with your truth eroded bit by bit, stolen under the guise of fixing things. This isn't love or understanding, it's what psychology calls a trauma bond. A cycle where you try to win affection from the one undermining you. It's not always romantic. It could be a parent guilting you for having needs, a boss praising you one day and belittling you the next, or a friend who only calls when they need you. The trap is the same you explain to gain respect. But respect doesn't come from over-explaining. It's built from self-respect and guarded by boundaries. If they can't meet your honesty, they're not connecting, they're exploiting. Sometimes, love needs the discipline of reason. You can't always navigate toxicity with emotion alone. You must face it, name it, and walk away, regardless of the memories, the potential, or the apologies they offer. If someone keeps forcing you to explain yourself, they're not confused, they're comfortable with your self-doubt. The hard truth is, they'll continue until you stop engaging. You can't change those who profit from your confusion. You can't heal in a space that keeps wounding you. You can't find peace with those who thrive on chaos. So how did the woman in our story heal? She stopped explaining. She quit sending long messages to clarify her intentions. She stopped justifying her need for space or trying to make him understand her heart. Instead, she chose silence. In that stillness, she rebuilt herself, realizing peace isn't earned through performance, it's her birthright. You could be her, or you're still trapped in a version of that story. But the ending can change when you stop explaining and start reclaiming your power. Your worth isn't something you prove, it's something you protect. After years of emotional exhaustion, endless explaining, and defending, you reach a point where you don't shout or collapse. You choose silence, not from fear, but from strength. Silence is a boundary wrapped in calm. In a world addicted to drama, your silence unsettles them. They're used to chaos, to provoking you, to controlling your reactions. When you don't respond, they panic because silence isn't empty, it's filled with self-respect. It signals their tactics no longer work, that access to your energy is revoked. This is where psychological boundaries are born, not in telling others what they can't do, but in deciding what you won't tolerate or sacrifice. Boundaries aren't loud. They don't come with warnings or ultimatums. They're felt through your consistency, your refusal to over-explain, your protection of your time, and your exit with dignity instead of drama. People don't challenge your boundaries by accident. They test if your silence is real. They push, prod, or guilt trip to see if you'll break and explain again. If you do, the cycle restarts. So choose peace or their approval. You can't have both. It takes spiritual discipline to stay silent when you want to clarify. It takes maturity to let go of being right and choose freedom. Emotional intelligence means recognizing this argument won't resolve it, only steals your energy. You don't owe explanations for boundaries to those who don't respect them. You don't need to keep teaching others how to treat you. Sometimes, you don't need a stronger message. You need a stronger exit. Those who truly value you don't need constant reminders. They don't test your silence. They honor it. Those who don't were never listening. They were calculating, waiting for you to bend. From now on, you don't need to shout to be heard. You raise your standards to be respected. Stop over-explaining. Outgrow the need to justify. Stoicism teaches that peace isn't the absence of conflict, but the presence of clarity. When you're lost in emotional storms, pause, step back, and let silence be your shield. Let your distance speak louder than any argument. Choosing stillness over defense makes you untouchable, preserving your energy without a word. Here's a quiet tragedy. Kind-hearted people pour their energy into being understood, keeping peace, and avoiding hurt at the cost of their own well-being. But no one told you growing up you don't owe anyone your peace. Not your partner, parents, past, or pain. Your peace isn't a bargaining chip to soothe someone's ego. It's your sanctuary, your birthright, your responsibility to protect. Yet how often do we give it away like it's worthless? We say yes when we mean no. We stay when we should leave. We explain until we're drained, resentful, and spent. Why? Because we were taught being good means being available, loving means being soft, and spirituality means self-sacrifice. True spiritual discipline isn't sacrificing your happiness, it's knowing your inner peace is sacred, not open to all. How often have you lingered in futile talks to avoid being misjudged? How often have you explained your worth to those who mock it? That's not peacekeeping, it's self-betrayal. Those who get angry when you guard your peace are the ones who benefited from your lack of it. Let that sink in. They're upset because you're no longer theirs to exploit. When you set psychological boundaries, stop reacting and stop over-explaining. Those who cherish your peace draw closer. Those who need your chaos to control you call you selfish. That's the sign you're healing. They don't miss the real you. They miss the version that tolerated their disrespect, apologized for boundaries, and explained pain to those who used it. That version is gone, and it's not coming back. Your silence doesn't mean agreement. It's a refusal to negotiate your peace. Emotional intelligence is choosing which battles to skip, because your peace is too valuable to waste on those who don't value it. You weren't born to open your emotions to everyone. You don't exist to fix how others perceive your choices or to save them from their own misunderstandings. You're here to live authentically, rooted in unapologetic dignity. When they demand reasons, let your calm be the answer. When they push against your silence, let distance reply. When they guilt you for choosing peace, remember, you don't owe them your turmoil to prove you care. At some point, silence stops being a tactic and becomes your state of being. It's not just a response to conflict, it's a declaration, I'm done with chaos. This stillness isn't passive, it's powerful. Resolute. Unshakable. You don't stay silent from fear or leave from weakness. You're silent because you've mastered what they can't yet grasp. The strongest statement is made in absolute stillness, where clarity emerges. When you stop reacting, you see clearly who needs your chaos to feel powerful, who thrives on your emotional turmoil, who only feels close when you're breaking. Suddenly, you don't miss them. You're free. In silence, you no longer chase apologies, closure, or validation. Peace doesn't beg, pursue, or explain. It exists like an ocean beneath a storm, deep and unmoved. That's emotional intelligence. Not every opinion deserves a response. The most powerful healing comes from doing nothing, no fighting back, no exposing lies, no words wasted. Just stand in your presence, radiating quiet strength. I'm not defeated. I've won my peace by walking away. This is self-mastery, a rare strength in a reactive world. Your absence speaks louder than words ever could. They realize you're not avoiding them. You're simply done with their drama and old cycles. They've lived off your guilt, your explanations, your need to fix things. When you choose silence, they lose access, not just to you, but to the control they once had over your mind. That's why your stillness terrifies them. Silence isn't about winning or losing, it's rising above the fight. You don't need to prove you're right, you need to be free. Your stillness breaks their game, freeing you from the emotional traps they set. Your silence makes your inner peace louder than their opinions. If you're wondering if silence is giving up, know this. It's not surrender, it's your sovereignty. It resonates further than any words you've spoken. You stop shrinking. Stop softening your truth. Stop apologizing for your existence. Every apology for your growth or clarity gave others permission to disrespect you. Now you see the trap and refuse to play their game. You've apologized for growing, for stepping back, for saying no, for leaving. You've apologized for your honesty, your clarity, your standards. But now you know the world doesn't need a gentler you. It needs you, unfiltered and unashamed. You were never too much. They were too attached to keeping you small. Your depth makes their shallowness stark. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your calm makes their chaos unbearable. So they label you cold or selfish. You're not cold. You're done sacrificing your worth for their fears. This is psychological freedom, not from love, but from their demands and emotional manipulation. Losing them isn't a loss, it's your emancipation. You no longer feel guilty for raising your standards or refusing to explain your peace. You don't apologize for seeing through manipulation and choosing your mental health over endurance. This is emotional intelligence at its strongest, mastering how you respond to those who exploit your feelings. Let them label you however they want. You're not their pawn. You're someone who chose peace over their chaos. Your freedom feels like rebellion to those still caged. Living unapologetically means different choices. You skip uninvited arguments, ignore unworthy questions, and stop proving your peace is valid. You don't waste energy making others like a version of you that's gone. You walk in your truth whole, quiet, unapologetic. They'll say, you've changed, that you're lost. But deep down, they know you're not worse, you're whole. Wholeness threatens those who only loved your fragments. Let them misunderstand, judge, or gossip while you grow. Heal and create, step by step. With every boundary and unapologetic breath, you claim the life meant for you. In that moment, a miracle unfolds you. Love yourself the way you once begged others to without conditions, explanations, or apologies. You owe no one anything but the truth of who you are. Lived boldly and without regret. You've said enough. Defended your heart. Explained your soul. You've opened up to those who never wanted to understand. Now, let silence speak. No more justifying your worth or clarifying what should be respected. Some don't deserve your words, only your absence. There's a power only silence holds, not of defeat, but of release. It's the silence of wisdom and serenity, saying, I'm at peace with being misunderstood. This silence disarms those who thrive on guilt or confusion. Your words were their fuel to argue, distort, or manipulate. Without them, they're left with nothing to attack, just your calm, your distance, your unshakable resolve. That resonates louder than any argument. It says, I've outgrown this conversation. Your approval isn't my worth. I'm not angry. I'm done. This is emotional intelligence's final step. Observe. Don't react. And withdraw. True power isn't in domination, it's in discipline. Silence is the most disciplined response. It doesn't seek applause or understanding. It walks away, letting the void speak for itself. They'll hear it in your absence. They'll feel every boundary you no longer explain, every ounce of energy you've reclaimed. They'll face their own reality without your voice to soften their discomfort. Healing isn't just becoming whole, it's letting go of the need to be understood by those who choose their wounds. Let them sit with your silence, wrestle with their noise, and wonder why their power over you vanished. They'll realize you weren't the problem. You were the mirror, and your reflection was too real for them to face. You don't owe them explanations, closure, or one last defense. You owe yourself peace, truth, and an unyielding march forward. Let your silence be your answer. Let your life be your proof. Let their confusion be the price of underestimating your strength. You've explained enough. Now, live your truth without apology. You've spent years explaining to those who never listened, pouring energy into translating your heart for egos that refuse to learn. Now you know you don't need their understanding, you need your freedom. Others' shadows try to pull you into their turmoil. But you were born for more. You're here to rise in silence, to embody your truth, untouched by their chaos. You owe no one an explanation for your strength. You don't owe anyone a softer version of your truth or your peace to ease their chaos. Let your silence echo. Let your energy speak louder than words. Let your presence declare who you are without a single syllable. When they ask why you stopped responding, why you left, why you changed, smile and let your silence be the final word. If this message stirs something in you, reminding you of your worth, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video if you're finished justifying yourself. Subscribe to Think Stoic 101 to reclaim your power and live unapologetically. Comment: I choose silence. I choose peace. I choose myself. Declare your strength to the world. This isn't the end of your journey, it's the start of your freedom. Until next time, stay strong, stay clear, and never explain your light to those who cling to darkness.